Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little different. Since my buddy Rice Crypto TVX Q4 39U517 is he got a strike and can't stream, I'm gonna try to pick up and honor. Yeah. Oh my god, that's me. I thought one of y'all was talking. So
I did the same thing today.
Let me mute. It's like, wow, Eric sounds a lot like me. Okay. But I want to kind of honor old Chris there and do this. Also, there's been a lot of stuff that's just been bugging me. And especially with I get down a lot for a long time, for like past couple of years, because I see things as they are. I think I'm a bit more open-minded than I think that the average Joe, which is detrimental because I'm honest with myself, and I can't really fool myself as much as other people. So I do get down, and I really get a lot of my positivity from Rice and from Lisa. And since he's not there, I wanted to do a show to try to get more positivity. For everyone that doesn't know, we have Tom and Eric from Consent to the Governed. They have a YouTube channel. Lisa's channel and their channel is in the description, so check them out and subscribe. You can catch Consent to the Governed, their podcast, on your social or your streaming platforms. I listen to them on Spotify. It's a great podcast. Lisa, her channel is amazing. She does tons of shows. She's kind of an angel on earth. Great person, great channel. Glad to have you guys here. Welcome.
Thanks.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, Sean. Glad to be here, man.
All right. I'll try to watch the chat, but if everyone can, hey, we got Chris is here, and Crypto Tonight, Darko's here, Huddle, and then Crypto Tonight is saying hi to Chris. Me and Chris lives, this guy here, he lives in the same town that I grew up as a little kid, which was just kind of a cool thing. We've been talking about that a lot. Okay, well, where do you guys want to start off and kick things off? I've sent you guys some links on some things that I thought were pretty easy. I guess I want to ask you a question. I want to hit this because this is my main problem. Like I said, I'm not really able to lie to myself. Everyone always says this. Both sides. All sides say this. They say those who do not learn from history are deemed to repeat it. Everyone just, yeah, of course, and nod their head. But if that's true, but no one does learn from history. Everyone says that, and then they just repeat it. And I know that people think that we can take things back and like Beatles with Project Sunlight and all the things that people are doing with the audits and going through the system. But I'd like to, if you guys or anyone in chat or anyone could tell me when any empire, any country, anything has gotten to the point where we're at now, where we are here now, where everything is as corrupted as it is. When has anything ever throughout history not ended in blood from this point?
Well, this is something I want to just make a quick comment on about what you're talking about, about your positivity being drained and all that business and putting in all this energy and doing all this research and just not having like a real, positive vibe or positive outcome that can come out of all of this. And the problem is you can't go back to sleep. That's the problem. You can't go back to sleep once you wake up. And as much as you like to, as much as you wouldn't want all of this incredible, crazy shit happening right now, which is very incredible. It's very exciting, but it's very dire. It's not cool. It's very chaotic, and it's only going to get worse before it starts to get better. But it's hard to find the positivity in just day-to-day life, when all this is happening, and then you have personal stuff happening and life happening in your own little reality. And dude, I wish I had an answer for you. I don't think there's a solution for the situation that's happening right now, other than more chaos, more I don't know if it's going to be financial. I don't know if it's going to be in the streets. I mean, we're seeing what's happening over in France and whatnot, and their voice is being heard.
Yeah, I wanted to go over that. You're the only person I didn't send stuff about France. But yeah, France is to me, France was like that's the straw that snapped my back. I literally have had a back pain really bad the past week, and I think it's because of France. What they're doing in France is there's no words, man. It's so blatant. This is the thing. And I talked to Lee about this with him, being European and in Europe. And he said that he doesn't think things are really going to get, because to me, when the police put down their riot gear and turned around and joined the protesters, to me, that's like, okay, it's going down. But he said, oh, this is nothing. Once they arrest people and start putting them in jail, that's when everyone, because he said most people don't even know what's going on. Most people, my family members, my kids just like, they say, Dad, I'll try to talk to them. Like, what does it affect me? Is it going to affect me? Is it going to affect what I'm doing? It doesn't matter. But this is going to affect people. You literally have to get permission from the government to go into a 7-Eleven to buy milk. And if you go in there and you go buy milk for your family, you can get arrested and put in jail for 6 months. An average person with no prison record, no nothing.
And this is one thing I just want to bring up about all of this that's happening over in the UK and France, because you see, France is, they push back and the people won apparently. And then you look in the UK and they're just beating the shit out of civilians, on Freedom Day of all days, and you wonder if they're a test, if they're just trying to test it out on these people and see how much they push back before they try to bring it over here. B, is it all optics? Is or not all optics, but part of it optics? Is it kind of a psyop where they're trying to promote more divisiveness between people? Trying to test it out on these people and see how much they push back before they try to bring it over here. B, is it all optics? Is it or not all optics, but part of it optics? Is it kind of a psyop where they're trying?
Are you telling me there's two Toms?
Yeah, is that coming from you, Shah?
People see how much they back before they try to bring it over here. B, is it all optics?
True.
All optics, but part of it optics? Is it kind of a side?
Are you telling me there's two Toms?
Is that coming from you, Shah?
No. Oh, you used that already. Damn it.
Yes. You can see the title up in the corner. It says, "What the heck is going on?" What is going on? You're muted.
No, I muted myself to see if it was me.
You can see the title up in the corner. It says, "What the heck is going on?" It is you. What is going on?
This is weird, dude. Okay.
You're muted.
Twilight Zone episode from
This is
Sean.
weird.
What the heck is going on? It is you. That's cool.
This is weird, dude. Okay.
Is StreamYard just going bonkers or what?
I have no idea what is happening.
Someone's Crypto Tonight says, "Close your open YouTube and Twitter."
I fixed it.
Sweet.
I think I fixed it. Okay. Well, that was fun.
Okay. All right. Am I back?
Hey,
Yeah,
Phil.
you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
Cool.
So we're talking about France until the 3-lettered agency messed up. Okay.
But yeah, I just to get back to that, I mean, is this actual revolution? Is this optics for divisiveness? Like that's like the whole thing with everything going on. Are these just psyops? Are these is this just the government governments just trying to push us farther apart? Or
if it was, then why would it be muzzled so bad. You in the United States, I don't know where you guys are seeing anything about France, but the only place I can see it is on Russian news on RT. That's it.
Oh no, it's on Twitter stream. You can see it. I'm
Twitter,
seeing
yeah.
it on Twitter. I'm seeing
talking
it.
about regular news. I'm talking about, rednecks watching news. So let me turn on CNN. Let me watch 5 o'clock news.
Watch news. Yeah.
Nothing.
I'll tell you this.
I think all of it goes back to what your original comment was, history repeating itself, is that the reality is the history that we were taught in school is a lie. And I don't know if you guys watched my show earlier today, but I think that's what it goes back to, is that the history that we were taught is a lie. The war never ended.
Mm-hmm.
The Nazis are here. Operation Paperclip brought the scientists here. The jab, the prick, whatever you want to call it. The experiments have continued.
I call it potato salad. Just to be safe. You get the potato salad, baby. That's all up to you.
And so now it's being brought out. I mean, I can't call my mother right now, or my mother can't call me. She gets a message that says that I'm not accepting phone calls right now. I have a friend that I'm not able to call him. It says that he's not receiving phone calls right now. I think that this is a dark to light thing. This is stuff that has been happening. It's finally being brought to our attention, and we're finally getting pissed off about it. And I think we have to get pissed off about it. And we've all been dumbed down, and it's all been happening to us. And we've been jabbing our babies. I don't know if you guys saw that picture of the little baby doll with like 40 needles in it. Mm-hmm. And it's like showing you the reality of what we've been doing to our children all these years. And because, somebody with a lab coat, somebody in a position of authority has been telling us what's the right thing to do, but when it's brought out to you and brought to the light, we realize what's brought in front of us. And so
that's the thing. So many things are brought to the light now, and there's a lot of people that are waking up, but everyone, when I was a kid,
it's also bringing unity though. I mean,
I guess.
It's not.
I was making the point about Area 51. Area 51 was not there. It's fake. Anyone that talked about it was crazy. The government ruined people's lives about it. Scientists that came out, respectable people, and they're like, "This guy's crazy." They would. I mean, this is before cancel culture. The government was cancel culture. They would bring up stuff that back in when this guy was 16, he peed on an electric fence and was, in front of like a bunch of people as a prank. He's an idiot. Can't trust this guy. But then it
ruined your reputation.
Then it came out that Area 51's real, and nobody did anything. It should have been the biggest thing ever. The trust in government should have been done. People should have went to jail for what they did, for ruining people's lives. They should have been in trouble. Nothing happened, and I was like 20 when it came out, 20 something. I mean, remember Independence Day came out, and it was like a half-hearted joke. There is no Area 51. The president said that, and there's like, well, okay, kind of is. And then it became acceptable. But it became acceptable for the government to lie and for us to just expect it. And that's fine. We can expect it, but people still have to pay for it.
But this is what's so screwed up, Sean, man, is that people are aware and wholeheartedly agree that the government, political officials, the deep state, they all exist and they're all corrupt as hell. People will wholeheartedly agree on that. It's like that quote out of Forrest Gump. Your back is as crooked as a politician. I mean, since time was time, we've known that these political people are bad.
I remember it was under Trump, and people were talking about it like on a panel, and it was on like CNN or Fox, and one of the journalists was like, I can't believe that we're all sitting here saying the word deep state and like admitting it, using it like it's like we're all admitting that this exists. Like it was mind blowing. It's like literally talking about the boogeyman. But yeah, well, the boogeyman. The boogeyman was doing this, and he said to me, like, you talked to the boogeyman? Yeah. And then everyone's like, yeah, we talked to the boogeyman.
So what's
Okay, let's move on.
what's
You know,
That's what's so screwed up about it is people agree that these agencies exist, all of this shit happens, these political figures are pieces of garbage, and but nobody can really admit or accept what's happening right now or what happened even over the last whole year. Everybody's like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened. Well, really, you can't.
so
I mean,
look at what's going on right now. I mean, even over the course of just the last 3 weeks, right? And then just start asking yourselves a few questions, right? So you have Tucker Carlson going, "Oh, I'm being spied on by the NSA." Of course, you twit. That's been happening for like 6 years. We're all getting spied on.
Yeah.
Welcome to the
Right.
club.
And
And then you, but why are they hyper focusing on it? You know,
one
why
is
are they?
no
Right.
one's focusing on. Okay, people get arrested now. Who's getting arrested? What's happening?
Right.
Everyone's
Well,
just like, isn't this terrible?
So the Arizona audits, everybody's talking about the Arizona audits, and the whole time I'm sitting there having to tell everybody, like, every law in every state was written so that none of these devices could be hooked up to the internet. They were all hooked up to the internet. That nullifies the election. We're done here. Why are we even discussing an audit? You just committed fraud. I mean, legally, lawfully, you committed fraud.
You're making my point. You're making
But
my
why? I think they're
that's
going hyper focused because it takes the attention off the true problem, which is that one simple fact. Yes, it was against the law. Yes, it should be nullified.
right. And I sent you this stuff on Arizona. So and Carlson said this: illegal fraud. That's it. This is illegal. Then, like you said, it's done. That's put aside. But everyone still wants to argue about this. That doesn't matter anymore. Now we move on to prosecuting. Now we move on to going after people.
Well,
But we never move on.
What's the next step, right? So
Right. That's the problem is we're in uncharted territory and we don't have the next step.
Are we?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. We've never been in this situation. And so we're in, we need to go to the Constitution.
No, we have been in this
look at what
before.
the next step is.
I've been in this place before on like a local government thing, on like a state thing, on like a city thing. Nothing on to this level, but it's still the same thing. It's still a crime that's committed. So we're done. Let's move on to this part. This is nullified. It needs to be redone. But there's actual. I mean, with the Arizona thing, that's all. That's what everyone's focusing on. But the Georgia thing, it's done. Here's some proof. It's by respectable auditors. It's like here, this is the same guy. Here's the break-in, the theft of all the proof that they had, but there's still more proof that they do have.
So the proof doesn't go. The proof is the report, the stuff that. Oh gosh, I'm totally spacing on her name. Karen Fan and the reports that provided, but then that is supposed to go to the courts, and the courts make the ruling, and that's the next step. That's my understanding. And so once the ruling happens, then the action comes to take place from the ruling. But there hasn't been a ruling, is what my understanding is of the process of where we are in it.
And I think that's where a lot of people are getting frustrated, is the fact that, all of this stuff has to go to a court. We don't trust the courts anymore. How can you trust the courts when there's in my opinion, it's all crap, and it's written on our $100 bill the same way as it's written in the Bill of Rights, that we can throw off this government when we deem fit, when sufferable is no longer sufferable. We can ditch this thing and move on to something else. So yes, we're in uncharted territory for America for the first 200 some odd years, but as humanity, I mean, look, you were just talking about it. The French seem to like to do this every couple hundred years. Let's learn from them and just do it. I mean, it's not that we have to go out in the streets and do the whole beating up of people and all of that jazz. But I think Cliff said something that's extremely important, and that is the next step from here might not be written in the Constitution, and it might be written, paraphrasing, it might be written in our hearts and in our souls. It might be written in something that is where we just understand that it's time for the next evolution in societal governance, and whether that comes from a form of technology or a form of, what happened in the past, it is what it is. And to be honest with you, they call it, the present is a gift for a reason, and that's why it's called the present. I mean, we should honor what's happening now. We should like what's happening now as people who are awake and want to see this come to fruition. You were talking about being down and wanting to be an optimist. Me personally, I believe that we all came here for a reason, and one of the reasons is that we were strong enough to handle this situation. So let's handle it.
Beatles tweeted something today, and it's been something I've been thinking about. How things have changed in the past 10, 20 years. You know, for me, I'm an older guy now. You know, I'm 73, 77, something. I don't know. but how much things have changed, and how if a whistleblower came out or someone came out, they could go public because that made them safe.
Yeah.
Whoever was out to get them, we can't kill them now because it would be too suspicious, and the outcry would be tremendous, and we would get caught. We would get busted. So what's changed is the people that would do the investigating have been taken over by those evildoers. So there is no investigation. You can literally go. Everyone knows Epstein didn't kill himself. Every meme that everyone puts out, it's not just a funny meme. It's them saying, we don't trust the government. We know how things work. We know. Here it is, and we're stuck with it. It's a terrible, terrible time.
So we're all looking for that match that sparks the keg, right? So we're all wondering, what's that shot heard around the world? What's the thing that's going to light this keg
what's
off?
going to push people over the edge, you know? And that's what I just always think is funny, though. It's just like, how can these people be so uppity, so obtuse, so, I mean, like doing something like the whole Epstein thing, and like allowing the people to see that, like that's what's so crazy in my brain is like all of these events that are happening that are just like like events where it's like Epstein didn't kill himself, something like that. It's like, really, like that's with the whole potato salad thing and the depopulation event. Like, personally, I can't wrap my brain around that right now, but.
Yeah, but don't you think that all had to be shown to see how it's all connected, that the potato salad is connected, Big Pharma is connected to. So when we talk about industrial, medical industrial complex, educational industrial complex, that ultimately all those industrial complexes, educational industrial complex, medical industrial complex, Big Pharma, all that stuff is really the tier of it is the Fed, is this elite, Jekyll
money.
Island, the money
Yeah.
is really the epitome of that. And so and I think exposing that,
well, that's the power base. The power base
and getting rid of exposing these elites, I think the whole Free Britney thing is going to expose Disney and the Hollywood elites and flip, get these people to stop looking at these influencers and elites and Hollywood people looking up.
What I'm talking about and what's getting me down is that used to be the way. It used to be good. It used to be the way it was. All you had to do was expose it, and then it would be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But the fixers aren't fixing anymore. Exposing it just like Tucker Carlson said, this is illegal. Why are we accepting it? Because we're told to accept it. People are told.
But I think that is the exposure of it.
Well,
it's that 3-5D chess. It's exposing that. Look, they're not doing anything. Do you see that they're not doing anything? That they're not being held accountable. They have different rules.
Yeah.
Some people have to have Disney to wake up. Some people have to have their wallet to wake up. Some people have to have, various other things to actually get up out in the street. Nobody's going to give a damn. I mean, again, to harken back to Cliff, if you're gonna spend $1,600, to $3,000 a month per person to keep them on the couch, that might be the only way that this, revolution doesn't happen, is because people are like, well, hell with it. I'm making that money for now, even though if it sinks the next generation.
Another can of worms, man. People not giving a damn. I think people, that's the word. I think people have been changed over the past 10 years to be worse people, to not care. You could expose it, and I'm going to go after Disney, but then you won't have Disney Plus. Well, I mean, it's that selfish. People are that selfish. Look at what Netflix did with the little girl show. People were so mad. It took Texas. It's always freaking Texas. They were going to ban Netflix and file charges for child pornography against Netflix, and then they dropped it. But they wouldn't drop it till then. And people, I canceled my Netflix for everything to basic service, and I told my kids, I was like, dude, we may need to cancel Netflix. And then they got rid of the show. But I'm in the minority. People used to do that. They would be like, I really like this product, but I'm not going to buy it.
I don't know if you're necessarily the minority anymore, and I think that's why you're seeing their backlash start to ramp up, because of the sole fact that, you know, I mean, anybody in, you know, obviously IT technology, anything like that, knows that there's, you know, they're looking at the logistics and the data from these unique IP addresses, slowly leaving all these other social media platforms, news platforms, whatever platforms, and going and seeing the unique IP addresses start to hit these other alternative sites. And they also know for a fact that there are tons and tons of bots on the mainstream social media sites. So, you know, them factoring in that and seeing these unique IP addresses, visiting these other websites, they're going, shit, these guys aren't the minority anymore. There are more and more people just not speaking up because, I mean, let's face it, we are all being silenced. I mean, that's part of the reason that Sully and I haven't done any content, and I'm mad as hell, and I just can't contain myself sometimes when I start talking about a particular subject. And I think we are having an effect on it, but we're not. They're pushing back hard, man. They're definitely in a corner, but they're exposing themselves every step of the way. As much as they're trying to hide their corruption, it just keeps coming out and keeps coming out, and they can't stop it.
I don't see it, Tom. I see the White House saying, yeah, we're in bed with Facebook, and we've been telling them what to do and censoring people and doing it. Just admitting. They're admitting stuff.
They're not admitting it.
But I think that's to get people angry. So I know, so you guys know that I have this theory about Cindy Powell when she had that righteous anger moment, and she's like, you know, by God, I just might release the Kraken. And then the next day, the DOD, or I think it was DOD, released that video talking about how they were have this training machine where they train pilots and they put them in the Kraken, and it causes a vagus nerve response from the pilots so that they train them to get themselves out, because that's how they lose so many pilots, by going underwater, and they lose their orientation. And so during this vagus nerve response, they can train them to right themselves and whatever. And so, but they're in a safe environment, but they need to have them go through this experience to be able to, in a safe environment, to be able to get themselves out of it so they can be able to survive later. I think we are in the Kraken. And I know that's a 17-letter theory, and I don't care if if 17-letter never shows up again, and that was the point of us learning about some of this stuff. I think we're in the Kraken right now. I think I'm still
not used to the 17-letter reference, but yeah, I got it.
I think that we are in, and I think it's important for us to all have these I mean, last week I was struggling. I was mad. I was pissed off. My mother can't call me. I can't call one of my friends. I got 3-letter agencies showing up at another friend's house, asking them questions and showing them pictures that my friend was texting me that are now missing off of my phone. I've got ladies with clipboards showing up at my front door. I'm worried about things that are happening at my children's school. I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm pissed off. I'm scared. And then I start having this whole thought, and Westwood and I do a happy hour show on Friday, and we have a really strong community that I love so much. And one of our friends, Jenny, in the chat, she was like, what if that's because we need to have, like, when you watch a scary movie and you have that adrenaline response, what if we need to have that response for us to all have this awakening that they're talking about?
Mhm.
What if we need to have this what if we need to get pissed off about it
Right. Yeah.
for us
You
to
could,
say
and that's
enough?
and that's what I'm having a problem with, Lisa. I
Get off
gotta
the
tell you,
couch
where I'm
and
just like,
say, I'm
I am
done.
so mad, and it's driving my wife nuts. It's driving my friends nuts. But it's like I'm just to the point where I don't care about your fucking feelings anymore.
Right.
Part
And
of
I'm
the French,
tired
but
of the
it's like,
political correctness
and
bullshit.
I'm going to tell you exactly what I feel, what I think, and I'm going to tell you fact. I'm going to correct you.
Yeah,
If you're wrong, I'm going to say fucking
exactly.
fact.
Yeah.
And
I haven't cared about people's feelings for a while.
Yeah, and I'm
I
gonna
don't
have
wanna
an
hurt
American
anyone.
flag on the front of my house, and I'm gonna pray to God, and I'm only gonna kneel for God. And if you don't like it, you can
Well,
F
I tell
off.
people I've always,
You know,
I don't know whether I was like some kind of genius child, but I've had so much shit figured out by the time I was 7 years old, and I always harken back to what I had so many aha moments as a kid. You know, when I learned about America, I learned America was founded on offense. It was made by people who were offensive to the government. They wanted a
right,
place to go and be offensive to other people, but not
right,
try to harm other people. They came from a place where they were offensive, so they were harmed. So they wanted to create a place where anyone can do whatever they want on their own, property or
Yeah.
for their own family, but not do harm to anyone else. But you can offend anyone.
Mhm.
That's what it. I remember being a kid and thinking racists were great.
Well, and I've always thought it was so weird that we were always so enamored with what the hell the Queen was doing or the royals. Like,
weird. That's weird.
that's a little weird.
Like, if you just let a racist person talk to you and try to convince you of why you should be a racist, it's ridiculous. They'll talk. It's like you give them a rope to hang themselves, and then you can just tell them,
That's a little ironic.
I hope they hang themselves.
Sorry.
So
Jesus.
any conversation, if you let someone just give their point and talk it out, but if you don't, and it's whispered about, and it's behind closed doors, that's when shit goes. That's when things get bad. That's when you have, these like cabals that grow, and how hate can grow when it just shine a light on it, man.
Well, I remember being young, and that was all, that's the birth of South Park. That's the reason it happens, because people, it was funny to not be politically correct. Just be like, oh, I'm making a joke. Obviously, he's just being sarcastic, and you can say that word or whatever you're saying, and just that, I don't care, and I'm just trying to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no joke anymore. Everybody's like, you meant that. I'm like, no, I didn't. I don't.
Yeah.
But I want everyone to be the most honest. I would love to see the biggest asshole in the room, so it's all
big
clear to
asshole.
everyone. You know,
Well,
that's
they're an asshole.
safe. You know what I mean? That's and especially like I have a history with foster care and adoption, and in the world of child advocacy, like we're only safe when there's transparency.
Mhm.
And when you start hiding shit, that's when it gets dangerous. When
Yeah.
you don't know.
I remember being in high school.
real-
Or being in high school, and this girl was talking about, racist, right? And
Mhm.
she was talking, and she's like, "That's why black people, they can't swim." And so I was like, "What? You think black people can't swim?" Yeah, they can't swim. And so you just show them, and it's like, dude, whatever foundation of your belief system that your parents have taught you, here
Watch
you go.
the Summer Olympics.
And then
Watch the Summer
She
Olympics.
can come over and yeah. I have
It's
videos of my daughter who can swim.
literally a breakthrough moment for her. She was like, "Well, that is weird. They do swim." So she began to question everything because she talked about it, because she was able to say, "Black people can't swim." It doesn't.
Well, and how sad, because she was taught that and then was told to keep secret about it and not talk about it. So then it perpetuates
Today she would not talk about it.
the
She would
ignorance.
be like, "Don't talk to the people. Don't bring it up, because you're not allowed. They're gonna come and shut down our store."
I
And
just
then it
thought of something that was
perpetuates the
funny.
ignorance. Yeah.
Instead of that movie, Dead Man Walking. It's black man swimming.
You know, at least I didn't think about this until now. But I talked to my best friend the night before last. Hadn't talked to him for like probably 6 months. And he told me, he said, dude, I've called you 3 times. And then I said, I've never got any notification that you called. And he said, I said, why didn't you leave a voicemail? He said, because it always told me your voicemail was full. I said, that's just weird.
Told you.
Voicemail's never been full.
So
And
I have the article. I'll send it to you. We talked about it. Not today, Tuesday. I think it was last Tuesday. The 3-letter agency that starts with F.
He worked for one of those 3-letter agencies.
So the 3-letter agency that starts with F put out an article in your face saying that they are starting to work with carriers to and they don't even say that they're monitoring your text messages. They say that they're censoring your messages. And
well, it's weird because he worked for the one that begins with a C.
Oh.
Back in the day, he was a Navy SEAL, and then he was a Navy SEAL instructor, and then he went to work for them to be what they do. And now he retired.
Well, it just made me really angry because my mother is in her 70s. My father's about to be 90, and I need her to be able to call me.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started getting really angry, and then these other things are happening, and that's where then, yeah, I had a rough.
Don't tell him to get a Wi-Fi texting app, because it's not a regular phone number, and they'll be able to go through that. He has a work phone.
Well, you would think that though, but who owns WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Facebook. Well, yeah, but if you don't connect it, if they don't know it's connected, you might be able to get through.
There are plenty of workarounds, but that's the thing that's sad, is that there's a lot of people that don't want to do the workarounds. I mean, even looking at YouTube and censorship and cutting people off, that's enough to just get rid of half of somebody's following, is to take them off YouTube. I don't want to be the guy that
I lost my monetized channel. Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm like trying to build out my Patreon, but then I have friends that lost their Patreon, and that was like their way to support their family. You know, I mean, so I like I said, I think this is all to wake us up, have that.
I think people were waking up really, really hardcore 2 years ago. It was a big deal.
I think it was a mass amount of people waking up more. So, I mean, it was a lot of people actually just really starting to see things for what they really were.
Yeah. If you were shocked,
I think it's obviously tapered off a little bit, but
oh my God, hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. I got to put this up. I forgot about this. I got this code from the people of Pandemic, free bands coins. You guys, all three, y'all should go do this. Go to bandemiccoin.com. And you put in code FREEDOM and you get your free coins. They gave me that code to put out, so I'll put that up a couple times. But yeah, I forgot to do that. I don't know how much money they're giving away, but put that in and you'll get your bands, bandemiccoin.com, and then you can claim that code FREEDOM. Just type in.
Did you say pandemic?
All caps, huh?
Did you say pandemic?
Yeah, pandemic.
Fucking A.
It's a hip hop term. That a lot of people, they got their their stimulus checks, and they just took it and put it into crypto and like GME stock and all that they put it into that, so they turned the pandemic into a bandemic because they got bands, which is we used to call them rolls. It's just like a band of $100 bills.
Pandemic music, like it was going to be a bandemic. Like
music
that would have been like the best tour name ever.
Yeah, I mean,
like hell with that. We're going to put together a whole fest. It's a bandemic.
All caps, FREEDOM, and you'll get some bandemic coins, probably like $5 or $10. But okay, so
just a quick question when we talking about the 3-letter agencies. That Chinese defector that we have over here, what agency did he contact? I can't remember the name of it. Yes. Did you guys remember? It was a weird one. It was not your typical.
When you started on that, I mean, there's literally a genocide going on.
Oh, dude,
They're-
yeah, don't even go there.
Nazis. They're killing, and we have proof. These women are coming out talking about getting raped 10 times a day. They're
They're
killing
shaving their heads for
all
weaves, man. They're sending them off to
and
freaking
that's my point.
Harvesting their organs.
harvesting their organs. Ah,
So I have a
Nobody
pretty rough story
You-
about this real quick.
You,
So
you
somebody
don't,
was
you don't bring that up because I looked at your Twitter and I don't know why you're allowed to have one because it's scary. Okay, no, it's not funny. I watched that video. Those were kids they were cutting up.
dude. So I showed that to a neighbor kid, right? And the funny thing was that he goes, "We look at a lot worse at work."
Come and lecture.
His legit exactly what he said. Oh man, I saw a lot worse from the friends at work. I'm sitting there going, wow, these kids are desensitized as all hell. I am. So I actually put that out there to see if I would get knocked a little bit. And I was kind of pissed off, like, to even see that. Like, the place I found that was just messed up in the first place, right? I was like,
it's African woman cutting up little white kids,
Uyghurs.
Asian kids.
No, it was the Uyghurs. Yeah.
no, it was the Chinese and the Uyghurs or the
Mhm.
Africans. Because I've seen some
Oh.
pretty disturbing stuff from South Africa and the
It
white
was,
farmers.
it was a black woman in like African garb, like a dress, like cutting her butts off and stuff. I mean, it was horrific.
Rough.
But just think about like the
Those are
Uyghurs in China
atrocities.
too, where that's an entire freaking population. That's mass genocide. That's slavery, man. That's
But there's nothing and nobody's doing a damn thing, dude. I was talking about Chinese 2 years ago with satellite photos of the internment camps where there was 2 buildings, and then 3 months later there were like 20 buildings the size of football fields. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And that is, like Lisa said, it's just about money. It's disgusting that they can buy Hollywood, that they can buy officials, that that they can buy servants, public servants. I don't know using that word, man. I haven't used it for a while. Not using it. Talking about words. Anyone else noticed how in the past year, anything that has to do with a Democrat is called Democratic?
Mhm.
Even Beatles use it.
Yeah.
Democratic lawmaker. He's a Democratic person. It's all Democratic, and it's not. That's a completely different word.
And conservatism is oppressive, right? So people don't understand the definitions of words. It used to be, and this is George Orwell 1984, right? So they're going to change this whole newspeak, right? This idea where all of a sudden you can change the definition of a word. So I know people who don't know the true definition of socialism that went to college, that learned all about it, that say they are socialists, and they're sitting there going, that's not the definition I learned in school. And it's just like, well, okay, so you just changed a couple words. So you go through with them when they're about to take their vaccine, like I did when the guy took his first. And I was sitting there going like, oh, that's an interesting way to spin.
I do believe you mean potato
salad. I was sitting there reading through it, and I'm like, well, that's a weird way to spin gene therapy, because it would just said everything about it, but it didn't state it right there.
I want to hit
a couple words around.
I want to hit the gene therapy thing and the jab in a minute about the stuff I sent you that to me blew my mind. But I want to give you this quote that is amazing by Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, I don't know if you know who he is.
We can't say anything about that. He was a slave owner.
He's a pretty smart fellow from back in that day. But he said this: the democracy will cease to exist when you take away from those who are willing to work and give to those who would not.
Mm-hmm.
That literally is what socialism is.
Yeah.
To me, that just blew my mind. Now, I sent you guys that thing about the RNA thing.
Yeah. That was pretty interesting.
Which to me, I thought that was kind of insane.
So I'm curious about that. Are you going to? Well, you probably can't play that. Oh, he's gone.
Bye, Tom. Too much
You-
potato salad.
Yeah. You probably can't play that, but I'm curious. So you were talking about that by taking or eating potato salad, that you were basically giving up, or you were able to be owned. And your buddy Rice, our buddy Rice, talks about a lot of that. Who owns who and maritime law.
Manufactured
Are you going to play
consent.
it?
Yeah. Manufactured consent.
Why don't you play it? Because you're better at sharing stuff than I am.
Me? I don't know how to play it as a guest. Can I play it?
Yeah, just hit share.
Oh, cool. Okay. Hold on. Because now I have to like go and pull up. Okay, let me pull up.
Because to me, just reading, it's all laid out. And this is from a 2013 Supreme Court case. And what the justice wrote, it's his words. It's a Supreme Court justice after this case was judged. And it was about patenting DNA. And they said you can't patent DNA because it belongs to someone.
Tom's back.
Here we go.
Sorry.
So
you can't patent DNA, but because it belongs to somebody?
Because somebody owns it. But now, watch this.
Okay, hold on.
He doesn't say potato salad, does he?
Am I doing it?
You're doing it. It's going.
I'm not sure that I'm on the right.
It's showing. You guys push play.
Yeah, we can see it.
Have a good sound.
Okay.
Patriots, I just came across an interesting story today that I found, and I think that you'll find it pretty interesting as well. So I thought I would go ahead and share it with you guys. Also, as a side note, to all you pro-vaxxers out there that are like, how come you don't trust the science and don't you care about herd immunity? Well, here's a little story that you guys are going to want to pay attention to as well. In a Supreme Court case decision in 2013, Pathology versus Myriad Genetics Incorporated, the United States Supreme Court ruled that you cannot patent human DNA as it is a product of nature. However, at the end of the ruling, the Supreme Court wrote that if you were to change a human's genome by mRNA vaccines, which are all the current vaccines being used today for COVID, because they all have mRNA in them.
Potato salad.
Then the altered genome can be patented. In other words,
you can stop now. I don't know what else to say, so we're good so far.
And you have no more access.
That to me was insane. They even laid it out.
Hello and good evening.
With that.
Shoot.
Patriots.
Sorry.
I just came across
Hold on.
It's all right.
It's okay. So that's 2013 Supreme Court case on this subject. You cannot patent DNA because it is a product of nature. However, if you change it with RNA, an RNA vaccine, which most of them are, I did not take that. It is the two potato salad. If you have a double helping, you got to go once and then go back. From what I understand, that is an RNA one. But I got the one helping potato salad from the No Tears Johnson & Johnson company, which I didn't want to get it at all. It goes against what I wanted to do. I wanted to wait a year at least. But I had you guys know, Eric and Tom know, had a really traumatic thing happened on Easter. My son came over with my older son. He brought my grandkids, and if they pulled up, they didn't come in. And he called me and told me that they got a letter from my grandson's daycare that one of the kids had tested positive for COVID. So they didn't want to come in. And he's like, oh man, we just, we got here. It's Easter. I had eggs all in the house, for him to get with money in them and candy everywhere. I was like, well, look, just come in. We'll all wear our masks. I'll be in the kitchen. You guys can just pick up your stuff. I'll tell you I love you. You can go. So they came in, and he put my grandson down because he's like, I don't trust you. You're going to run to grandpa. You'll hug him and you'll kill him. He's like, Dad, you're going to die. You'll die. I mean, in front of my grandkids. And my son was shaking. He's like, I love you, Dad. I just don't want you to die. He goes, I'll kill you. and I can't live with myself. He was freaked out. And I really didn't want to do it, but I couldn't make my kids live with that fear.
Dude, that's a jacked up scenario.
It's
Like
so fucked up.
Dude, that's crimes against freaking humanity right there. I mean, that one story is enough to take a jury and swing them into swinging those fuckers from a rope. Because if I was on the jury, I would.
That's Nuremberg all over.
Dude, yeah.
Seeing my son that's scared, dude, and knowing that I was making him live that way, I couldn't. So
Dude.
You didn't make them live that way. That was
No,
misinformation.
I was indoctrination from freaking.
Yes,
I
you have to
feel like
remember that.
I had to.
No, you have to remember that. I mean, remember Uncle Cliff crying? I mean, I've never seen
that freaked me out.
That freaked me out to the point that,
and I was like,
I mean, my littlest needs a heart transplant. And so at the beginning, like we literally did not leave the home. There was one time where like we needed to go out to get his meds, whatever. And I like was freaked out. I'm like, don't touch anything. You know, I'm like doing the whole buying UV lights. And like, we all have been at that place where we were getting that misinformation and we didn't know. And none of us are at fault for that. And
do you remember when Ben told that story about his neighbor?
You have to refresh my memory. I don't know.
I will. Go ahead when you're done. I'll tell you. That was the worst for me.
Well, so I guess that's my point is that we've all been at that point, and maybe some people are going through that now where they're getting the jab now and they're at that point where they are getting the misinformation. And so we all have different places of figuring out or coming to this awakening, and none of us are at fault at whatever that place is. And I pray that one day these bastards are held accountable, but I think it is going through this process of coming to that awakening and that awareness and then holding them accountable. And I don't know what kind of chaos that's going to look like to make enough people aware and awake.
With Ben, this is way in the beginning. When there was like everything just started locking down and everybody was, you couldn't do anything in a lot of states. And it was never like that here in Texas. But he said that he saw his neighbor was like out with his lawnmower and it's kind of just standing there, and he was crying. And he went and talked to his neighbor, and the dude's like 90, old guy. And he was like, "Hey, how's it going?" Whatever his name was, and he said that his wife, they've been married like 60 years or something. It's like crazy. His wife was had cancer or something. She was dying, and she was like in the hospital, and he couldn't go see her. He wasn't allowed in the hospital. His wife was dying alone, and he was alone at home, and he was just like standing in the yard. He didn't know what to do. And he knew his wife was going to die after them being married for like 60 years or something, alone without him. And he didn't care. I mean, statistically, he's not going to be around much longer after that. But he wasn't even given the choice to see her before, and to be with her before she died. To me, it was just so horrible, man. And that's when I was like, people need to be fucking held accountable, dude. Yeah. If it's about money, it's about a pharmaceutical company making a few bucks. For that, oh, dude.
Well, I think that's where, like, watching Trudeau say that there's going to be boosters and 8 boosters, and saying that, well, we have all these jabs that we have to get out, all these pricks we have to get out. You can't tell me it's not about money. They've already made them, and they have to get them out because they have to get their money in. We know that's what it's about.
And that's why I hate this.
It's not just about money, but yeah, I mean, obviously we just talked about the mRNA changing over and this idea of patenting a genome. The Human Genome Project started in 2004. This has been planned for quite some time. And I don't mean to speculate, but when you see the timeline laid out, I mean, these stories legit make me think of like what true empathy, right? What would I do if I was in that position? And it's fucking ridiculously sad to see all that stuff go on. I mean, it's like if I'm 90 years old, and can you stop me still from getting into that hospital and taking my wife the hell out of there and just going out in the middle of the woods and just dying with some dignity together?
Yeah, I go
Like,
in there
I
heavily
mean,
armed and be
what
like,
the
I'm taking my
hell?
life.
No, like none of you guys get to decide how this happens. Like, I'm done with your
They did.
bullshit.
They did, Eric.
I mean, that's rough, man.
They did it. The dude was standing there holding his
So
arm like it was.
I can tell you that the hospitals will get involved. When my daughter was diagnosed with cancer, they threatened to take her from me because long story, I'll give you a very, very short version and only a small part of it. But I've got 5 kiddos and 3 are adopted through foster care. And we got Mighty Mia. She needed a heart transplant. We got it when she was 3 months old. Got the blessing to have her for 7.5 years. And she developed tumors from her transplant meds. And so when we got diagnosed, you're like in shock. They're like tumors all over her body, whatever. We get moved over to Children's Hospital. They walk in and they're like, well, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow morning and we'll decide her care and we'll let you know. And I'm like, well, I had lost my sister a few years before from a GBM brain tumor. And they told us when she was diagnosed, well, you'll have 18 months with her and she'll be gone. And she went through all this chemo and surgeries and torture and all this. And we lost her 18 months later anyway. And I'm like, I don't know if we're going to receive treatment for my daughter. And they're like, the nurse leaned into me and she's like, well, if we have to, we'll get DHS involved. And I came across that. I came across the bed at her and I was like, oh, don't you dare threaten me. I'll have the governor of Oklahoma in here and I will walk out of this fucking hospital with my daughter. Don't you dare threaten me. And so they had to come in and talk to me and whatever. And so having medically fragile kids, and Cannon needs a heart transplant eventually. And so I'd always been involved in their care and in every meeting and all this. In the cancer world, you're not involved. They have meetings and discuss care and treatment and all that, and you are not. It's a whole different world. And I had not been in, this was all new to me. And so they were going to come in and I said, you're going to understand this. You're going to come in and if you believe, I'm not saying I won't accept care. I'm saying that if you believe that to be the best treatment, then you're going to come in and you're going to educate me and you're going to explain why you think that is. And then if I believe that to be the best thing for my daughter, then I will make that decision. You will not decide what is best for my daughter. But they literally threatened to take her from me. And that happens in hospital care. They threaten to take children, and it's happened multiple times where they will threaten. They have that power. I don't know in adult situations if they can do power of attorney or whatever, but it is a scary thing.
Was this because she was foster? I mean,
no,
she was
it doesn't matter. Once they're adopted, they are your child. It doesn't matter if you have a biological child. They will take, if you refuse care, they can threaten to take that child from you if you refuse care. If you refuse their big pharma plan.
Their care.
Well, I'm actually working on, the wife and I are working on having our first, right? And these are things that have kept me from really, trying super hard, right? And it wasn't until I really started to understand where I was, cognitive about law, legal systems, everything else like that, to where it was like, I don't think I could actually take care of a kid if I couldn't explain to their school how I didn't want them to get jabbed with anything, right? Or if I wasn't in a good enough situation where
then you homeschool and you find other ways around it. It's not a reason not. Trust me, having a child, no matter how God brings that child into your life, is the most amazing thing that you will ever experience in your life and the biggest blessing. But there's some dark shit out there that you have to
Mhm.
come up against, and a parent is the strongest force that no
Well,
matter what.
So that's the thing. I mean, the news
Order,
can
whatever,
say,
can stand
the
against.
news can say whatever they want. I'm going to be calm, cool, collected, like I always am,
Yeah.
right? But like,
You're
what
not
Sean
always
is-
calm, cool, and collective.
Mostly.
Mostly.
No.
Right now, you're
So-
calm, cool, and collective. You get
Yeah.
batshit crazy, man.
There's been some times.
It's very easy to right now. It really is.
Dude, it's even easier now, actually. So there was a time, like, I've seen a lull where I was really like, oh, I'm mature. I'm not gonna like do anything. I've never lashed out on anybody. I've never gotten assault charges. I've never had anything, and I'm trained to do it, right?
That nobody knows about.
Well, and that I've held my stuff together. I've never gotten in a bar fight. I've never had to punch anybody in the face in anger, other than my brother. That kind of thing, right? But just hearing this story that Sean was telling me, and then hearing this story, I would find it really hard not to just pistol whip the shit out of somebody and make it go my direction, because it's like, you can't put me in that box. I mean, you don't put me in
Eric,
that little.
you're one of the best people when it comes
What?
to this, because the thing that scares those people the most is legality, and is the
Right.
knowing your rights. Like, I was a single dad of 2 sets of twins. That's like who I am more than anything else. That's the best thing I ever did was be a father. And my son Robert, he punched his brother in the eye, gave him a black eye, and we lived in a relatively small town. Went to school, next day, and the principal calls me. Principal's just apologizing left to right. Sean, man, I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry about this. Michael, what's going on? Well, Nick has a shiner. I was like, yeah, Robert punched him in the eye. He goes, yeah. And the teacher said, hey, Nicholas, where did you get this black eye? What happened? And then he said, oh, Robert punched me in the eye. And she went to his twin. Is like, you punched Nicholas in the eye? And he goes, oh no, my dad did. My dad popped him in the eye. So he said, I know he was joking, but this teacher, she's brand new, and legally she has to call CPS.
She is obligated to report. Yeah.
He said, he goes, I wouldn't have done anything if she didn't. It's ridiculous. I don't believe that she did it, but she's a brand new teacher, just hired her this year. I'm so sorry. So I was like, okay. So they came, knocked on the door, and I came out and sat on the porch, like, well, can I come inside? I said, no.
Good for you.
I was like, what do you? She's like, well, to be much more comfortable inside. I was like, oh yeah, it would be. I have really nice furniture, but what do you need? And then I said, I'm and then because there's a sign on the way from where I lived in Gatesville to Temple, where the big hospital is, and it says like 32 children were killed this year in Texas by something. It was something with CPS, by like people that were. So I was mad because this woman's here when there's shit that they need to be protecting kids from, But I'm like, okay. So she's like, well, do you ever hit your kids? I was like, yeah. I said I hit them on the butt when they do something wrong. I spank them. Is that illegal? And she was like, no. I said, okay. Anything I'll be like, was that illegal? Was that against the law? And she said, no. And she said, well, I'm going to talk to your other two kids. It's like, no,
you're not.
And it's like, she said, well, I need to, ask them. I said, you really don't, but you can't. And she did. She went over to their school, pulled them out of their classes, said, did your dad punch your brother and give him a black eye? But yeah, man, you just have to know what your rights are, because a lot of people get very scared because they don't know.
So, Sean, that brings up a good point back to the situation of where we are. Is what a lot of this is causing, is the constitutional education of America.
Oh
Number
my God!
one.
Yes. You opened up the next segment.
Okay, so this is what's happening: is we're having the constitutional education of America.
No, we're not, and that's the problem.
Yes, we are.
The problem is, I would tell you right now,
we're getting the School of Hard Knocks version, is what Lisa's saying, but we're not getting the actual.
People are looking into it themselves, but we're not getting an education. It's like when they took civics class out of school and started teaching government. I watched something. This guy got arrested recently. He was like the head of this Muslim group in America. I forget what it's called. But anyway, I watched him. Huh?
Care?
No.
Care? No.
It's the Moors.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
The Moors.
Yeah, it's a.
Oh, wasn't that they were at a? Didn't they have a standoff up someplace out in Washington or something like that?
Boston.
I didn't even know they were an organization until I just saw a recent.
Yeah, I didn't either. But they basically just believe that you should be allowed to bear arms as a Muslim.
Well, it's a revamping of an old Arabic religion. So the Moorish were
Just watch the Kevin Costner version of Robin Hood. I'll tell you all.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's perfect. Kevin Costner teaches all again.
Yeah, Kevin Costner, man. I'm telling you,
he can teach us how to play baseball on a field. Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. Morgan Freeman,
Robin Hood.
Morgan Freeman was the Moorish man.
He was the Moor.
But national treasure.
This guy said that he was in the. He said that he was in the Marines. And he said, we all had to come up and we swore an oath to protect the Constitution from enemies without and within. And he said, but I thought to myself, I have never read the Constitution. And nobody there ever read the Constitution. Police officers, they never read the Constitution and they swear to protect it. There's a lot of controversy that says police officers don't have enough education or whatever to become a police officer. I think minimum of a semester or a class in what the Constitution is should be mandatory if you're swearing to uphold it. I think every soldier should have at least a 3-hour class or a 1 week, half hour on 5 days.
That's where my mom is posting in the comments that Trump was actually putting that. And I remember that he was putting that back in. Yep, 1776 project, exactly. And the sheriffs do swear an oath to the Constitution as well, and they do have some education in their training.
But this is so weird. So in all the conversations I have about lawful, legal, all of that stuff, one of the best things that's ever been said to me that I thought was just a mind blower, right, was the fact that it is absolutely true. You can actually. You were talking at the top of the hour. We personally right now, our attorneys have less knowledge of the law and the Constitution than your average farmer did at the signing of the Declaration. I mean, at the signing of the Declaration, right? So they didn't even read the document yet, but they knew more about common law at that point in time than any of us did, right? And then after they got their Constitution and read it, more than even our most trusted advisors and judges. And obviously we're talking about police officers, which shouldn't exist, and sheriffs and anything else. That's why it's up to us. If you don't take your own personal responsibility for your freedom and you want to sit there and point the finger out to everybody else, including the president, anywhere, I don't give a damn who it is, the president, your doctor, then you got no problems but your own. You should know what goes on in your life.
That was part of it. It was your patriotic duty to know what the hell was going on with your local politics.
Absolutely.
And number two, something my brother always said when we were playing on stage all the time, just ignore your freedoms. They'll go away. Everything else. And that's what people did. I mean, we were bitching about that for fucking 15 years.
The reason why they went away, Tom, is that people used to hold on to that Constitution and those rights because that's what
traditions started being attacked, man.
But people knew this is what's protecting me. This is what's important. And over years, people have thought the government's going to protect me. They're swearing.
That's the indoctrination that we've seen over the last 40, 50 years.
They can just pass it on.
But there's a philosophy that needs to be said. That Constitution protects those politicians from my wrath when they break it, right? So this is the agreement. And when we don't all of a sudden agree on something, you better have a fucking scenario or you're hanging, bro, because that's the way it's done. And that's the way it always was done. There's a reason why there were duels in Congress. Just because you might have offended somebody. I don't know if you guys listened, but last podcast on the left is freaking hilarious, especially as of late. And they were reading a Thomas Jefferson quote from like a witch or some crazy madness that was going on. And he was doing like old timey, he was calling somebody a pudding head and all sorts of stuff and saying that their mouth was like his cat's asshole, his words, in a letter to them. So I mean, those are big words. That's something with that. It actually meant something. You get smacked in the face with the glove, the whole gambit. And then all of a sudden it's 10 paces and you're both getting shot, you know? I think that I don't necessarily believe that we need to get back to the idea of, I know that Texas is definitely going back to the idea of duels. I don't think we necessarily,
executions, to say the least, man. People need to know that this is the punishment for doing this. This is the punishment for treason. This is
Don't
the
you agree that
punishment.
anyone that is swearing to uphold the Constitution should have to read it at the minimum? If
Well,
not,
hey, read it, understand it, have it memorized. I mean, this is the problem, man. It's like,
that is true. But that's a dream. At the least, you have read it.
but you know, I just want to bring up the whole world, the whole word treason being, you know, kind of brought out, and people are using it loosely. And treason is not a loosely used word. Treason is very fucking serious. It's very defined in what it means. And if you are guilty of committing treason, especially during times of emergency or times of war, that's death. That's public execution, man. And I mean, look at the Nuremberg trials. You know, this is the obviously that we're not talking about treason back then, but we're talking about, you know, the Nuremberg trials. Those were public hangings. That wasn't that long ago. And people can't seem to accept that can still come about. These public executions can still come about. 15 years ago or 50 years ago?
15 years ago is a lifetime ago when it comes to so many things, man.
It's so weird, man.
The internet kicks ass. The internet kicks ass. It makes everything speed up and slow down at the same time. How the hell did they pull it off? Them crafty bastards over there at the Technical Net.
I was around when the internet was just starting.
I think it's interesting that what you guys are talking about, like knowing the Constitution, the people holding them accountable. Remember when the lockdowns were first happening and you were seeing some of the people, like, I'm just thinking about like my friend that had the 3-letter agency attend and come and visit them. They were also visited. There were 2 people that showed up. There was a 3-letter agency and a local sheriff.
Right.
So when there were the places that had, when the lockdowns were happening, there was a restaurant, I think in Jersey, maybe it was New York, I can't remember. And there was a restaurant and there was a health department worker and a local sheriff. And the health department was like, you guys can't be here. You can't be meeting, whatever. And the restaurant owner was like, you need to tell them they're trespassing. I know my rights. You need to tell them to leave. And the sheriff was educated enough and knew, yes, they're right. You're trespassing. You need to tell them to leave. And they had to tell the healthcare worker to leave. And I think, oh, if my friend had known their rights, they could have told that 3-letter agency person to leave. So I had somebody on most of my videos now. I've got a form that you can your power to trespass. So it has like the information on when you can tell somebody that they're trespassing, and then it has this form that says you are being issued a trespassing warning. Any further entry of this property, you'll be subject to arrest. And you put the address of the property, time and of trespass, the owner and lease of property, and then a little form, and they can print that out. So I'll send this link, and you can put it in the description of this video as well.
Thank you. That'd be great. I'm glad you said that, because Eric is really huge about sheriffs. And, and you can see the comment that Dana put. Yeah, you should always get to know your sheriff. Your sheriff is is the main. It's the elected law enforcement. In your
He's
area.
an elected official.
Well,
That's why he
and-
can't be a dick.
Well, and
Servants.
well, so the one thing I will say is, if you noticed how long that was, right? And this is no offense to anybody whatsoever. I'll just say that the law is extremely simple, right? And the more it's complicated, the more they're trying to obfuscate, right? And that goes both ways for you and them. The simpler you make it, the easier it is to understand, the easier everybody understands the authority at which you're trying to invoke. So the simple no trespassing sign from Home Depot and an understanding of the law is enough to make that sheriff and that FBI agent understand what's going on before they enter the property. And if you have the conversation correctly, which it doesn't take much, where it's like, hey, sheriff, you do understand that this FBI agent doesn't have jurisdiction, and you're not even invited onto this property either. So one of you better start enforcing a law, or I will with my piece. Just let me go get it real quick. And then all of a sudden they'll sit there and go, oh, fuck yeah. All right, I'm out.
And you'll
So
it's funny you brought up New Jersey, Lisa, because when everything started, the big lockdowns, it was on Tucker Carlson. He had on the governor of New Jersey, and you weren't allowed to go to church, but liquor stores were open. And you know how Tucker Carlson is. He does this. When I was a financial advisor, I used to use this tactic all the time. I used to call it the Columbo tactic, because you act like I'm confused. Can you explain to me? It's like, so he's like, I'm just wondering about this. If you could tell me, when did you, or who was it, or when did you decide that the Bill of Rights wasn't important? And it was like, what? But you could cancel people's right to assemble to worship. When was that? When did you decide that was okay? He's like, I don't know. Well, you're saying people can't go to church, but you go to the liquor store. When did you decide that you didn't have to follow the Bill of Rights? And this was the quote from the governor of New Jersey. That's way above my pay grade. I don't know. And this is at the beginning.
That was the quote from.
This is at the beginning of everything, dude. At that point, I was like, "Whoa, we're in for a ride, man. This is going to be so bad." Yeah, that's what the governor of New Jersey said.
Well,
that's above my pay grade.
I just loved it when all this shit started to kick off with the lockdowns and everything, and I just went ahead and kept flying everywhere. The only thing I got really pissed off about was the fact that they quit serving drinks on airplanes. I was really pissed
Texas
off
was
about
the same, and everybody hates
I was
Texas.
like, screw you guys.
That's the only way I can fly.
That brings you back to my original point, and why I get so down is because I come out of my echo chamber, and I follow George Takei. I love Sulu. I love Star Trek. George Takei is one of the worst people, though. So far on the crazy side. And if you read the comments, he puts out, go to his Instagram. It's like, this Republican is terrible and this person is terrible. And the comments are all word for word what the other side says. Yeah, they only believe in power and this and that. It boggles my mind how both sides, and I always say the left wing and the right wing are both part of the same bird, but it's crazy how divided people are that everyone can say that. But if you really step out from your side and then you go look at the other side as people and not as just a side, and look at what they're saying, it's the same exact thing. I thought that this was interesting. I wanted to read this.
Well, hold on a second. Are they all real or are they all bots?
Well, I'm sure a couple of them are bots.
We have to.
A lot of them are real. They are real. Democracy can exist. This is from Alexander Fraser. As a permanent form of government, it can only exist until the voters discover they can vote themselves from money from the public treasury. From that moment, the majority always votes for the candidates promising the most benefits. And it goes on and on and on. Now here it says, the average age, this is what look at where we're at and what has happened. The average age of the world's greatest civilizations has been 200 years. It's about how long America is, how old America is. These nations Start out with spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from courage to liberty, from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness. Hello, 80s. From selfishness, this is the scary part, from selfishness to apathy, from apathy to dependence, from dependence back into bondage.
Yeah.
And then so the circle continues.
So that's one of the reasons why they say good times make,
Weak men.
weak men. Yeah. Weak men make bad times make strong men make good times. And so the cycle continues, but everybody always wants to talk about a revolution. I've said it myself, and you were talking about not using certain words. I'm trying to do the same. I think this is something that's been engineered, right? This is something that in society, we've always been engineered to do this. Cliff talks about the Byzantine Empire. Everybody else talks about this exchange of wealth over the times. And that's like, we're not under a bunch of different rule. We're under one rule over, a certain period of time, and how it just keeps going and going in this cycle. My personal belief is, because I'm ever the optimist, is I would hope that this time we're not going through a revolution, but an evolution. This is the time we finally kick its ass and we kick it to the curb and say, fuck you, we're done.
I hope so. I don't like talking about my thoughts or my positions. When I talk about like conspiracy stuff or that kind of thing, I don't like to say what I think. I like to say what's fact. I like to say, here's some facts. I'm not going to say if 9/11 was an inside job, but here's some things that have happened. These are facts. This happened. This happened. You make your own mind up. Whatever it is, it's just facts. Because when you try to tell someone this is right, this is this, then they're going to be apprehensive and say, "Hey, man, whatever you want to believe, you can believe." But this happened.
Well, for example, I was talking to my
hold on. Let me make my point about history. This is the history repeating itself that nobody, and not to pick on the LGBTQ
plus
people.
There's a plus in there. There's a plus, and I think there's a few more letters in there. I don't think you can.
I think the plus is because they're waiting for some others to join.
Yeah. We're gonna get some more letters in there.
I thought it was plus size for fat people. I don't know. Okay. so listen. But here's the thing: when you look at just history, like especially the Greek Empire, and whenever the roles between male and female are skewed, that's the end of the empire. Throughout other empires, whenever that deviance and decadence has happened, you can see it in the art and in the history of that empire. That's the beginning of the fall. It just is. That's not saying negative or positive about it. That's what history is. And that's one of the reasons why people hate facts and hate history if it's not to their liking. I personally think we've lost. I think everything's done. I think it's going to end in fire.
That's a bold statement.
I have. That's what I told you. I'm really down.
He's from Texas. He likes heat.
I think when things have gotten as far as they have, it's over. We can't fix it. It's only going to end bad. But like Sully said, I do have hope at what will come out of the ashes, what Phoenix can rise. When it comes to the Empire of the United States, I think it's done. And I'm very sad about it. Very sad about it.
I think it evolves. I think it evolves to the next.
It could evolve, but I think I think it will end at whatever the current thing we call it. It's going to change so much that it's going to have to end and start again.
But change isn't bad, and it should always change again.
But change is painful.
It's definitely painful. I don't disagree with you at all there, Sean.
Yeah.
I was just going to say though, I was talking about the end of an empire and talking about facts and history. One thing, end of an empire, anytime that any sort of empire, government, whatever, starts, the whole fiat system, we're well overdue on that. But when you start to see this sort of massive amount of funny money printing and hyperinflation and everything else, and basically just creating money out of thin air, that's when you always see, these empires start to fall. But then before this before this topic, you were talking about fact, and that's when I talk to people about it. Fact. Like Sully was talking to our old bass player Nate, who got the potato salad, and I was like, "Hey man, just to let you know, this here potato salad has killed more than any other potato salads have in the last 20 years. That's fact. I'm not making this shit up. They're like, oh, really? I didn't know that. Yes, fact. I'm not going to, and see, here's lies the problem with a lot of these alternative media sites. What I've noticed is that there's so much, and this is the whole nother direction here, but there's so much misinformation. You wonder whether they're trolls or just people that actually believe this shit, or they're just throwing it out there to throw you off. I don't know. But that's the one thing that's bothering me during this whole collapse of, modern civilization, is that can we please just get some people that are, that don't want fame, that just want to come out there and speak the truth? Because I see a lot of these people out there that are just coming out because I just, I want to get the numbers on YouTube. I want to get this. I want people to listen to me. And dude, we are constantly being thrown off. And I mean, it's at the point where
people are allowed to thrive, though, with the current situation. They're not allowed to thrive. They're canceled. They're shut down. They're deplatformed. They're silenced. It's very hard.
Speaking of silenced, I put that link in the private chat because I tried to put it on, YouTube, and they won't post or allow my link to post. But
I was just replying to it in the chat there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Sean, you know that death is not the end and that this never ends. And so whatever we go through, and that there is no good without evil and there's no evil without good. And so we're going through this thing and there's always this battle, and that we can't give up. We're going to have these up and down days, but we have to keep fighting the fight. We have to keep looking at the truth, and we have to know what's right and wrong, and we can never give up, and we have to keep building up each other. And I think that's what we have each other for. And I think that's how we keep finding each other too. I think that's how we keep finding each other as warriors and truth tellers, and how, we just keep moving this thing ahead. And we're only going to have, I think we're only going to have the tools to fight the fights that we're supposed to have. And so we're all doing our parts, and we're all sharing information that we're supposed to share. And, death is a lie. So there's nothing that we're afraid of. We just keep doing the things that we're supposed to be doing and let it unfold, and keep telling the truth and keep moving ahead.
You're absolutely right. Death is a lie. And
something I thought was really cool, Bundy, this like network of people in your area that you can call on or join up with. So
I thought you were talking about Ted Bundy. I
thought
you said Bundy. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Yeah.
No, go on.
Nice talks to old Bundy. But him and Manson, they got plans.
Bundy for governor.
But
Ted Bundy?
I think it's Eamon Bundy. He's got it's like a network, but
I know who he is. I just didn't hear the first.
It's like a local thing. So if you get pulled over and things aren't going right, or you feel nervous, you can shoot out a text, and then there's people in your area that'll come and pull their phones out, wherever. If you're in any kind of situation, people knocking on your door, Lisa.
What is this called, Bundy?
No, it's Eamon is this. It's like a network that he has set for you to join, and then people in your area, which they should app that thing, for God's sake. Well, it would be taken.
I think they are. It's AMON and then space BUNDY, Ammon Bundy, and then
it's a law firm, Bundy and Geen and Associates.
No, they're not.
You get it, Bundy and Geen and Associates.
Don't listen to this guy's from Wisconsin, so he's just boasting the whole serial killer thing. So Ammon Bundy is part of like the whole Bundy Ranch standoff thing. Him and his dad were fending off the Bureau of Land Management in Utah, not Black Lives Matter.
BLM,
two different BLMs. Yeah. And if you look them up, it's like a consortium of people. It's something. They use a new thing. It's not Meetup. It's something else. It's kind of like a Telegram, but you're able to like constantly contact and kind of encrypted sort of thing where you can set these groups and anybody can get in touch with you whenever you need to. So they're kind of utilizing that as their backbone, like their back end system to build this
You guys have to
network
send
of
me that
people. Yeah, I'll
information.
send you something. I can't remember what the hell it's called. But I was gonna say, I mean, just on an upward note, you know, Sean, you said you were down. A lot of other people I've seen in various chats. What?
NODS, Neighborhood Organized Defense System, NODS, NODS.
Oh, so they do have their own app now?
What's the website for that?
NODS.
Nods.com?
NODS. I don't know.
Mm.
You see this? Yeah.
Yes.
NODS. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, Rice probably put the link in there and it's not going to show up. The tube won't let it. Yeah.
Anyway, I was going to say something, and I hope it's a little bit inspirational. It kind of sounds like a lot of what we've been talking about, and that is that, you know, we're here for a reason because we chose to be, right? And in doing so, we kind of have to understand that. I mean, I'm really sorry, but the best way to say this is that no matter what happens to you, no matter what it is, don't pray for, you know, somebody to give you a good life, God or the universe or whoever that is. Don't pray for them to give you a good life. Pray for them to give you the strength to get you through the one you're in. And the one you're in is rough as shit. You know, right now it's going to get.
It's also cool as shit because.
But yeah, and you start for me every time I'm like, damn, and I'm down. I think about that statement, like just pray for the strength to get through the next thing.
Bob Marley had said that.
I don't know if Bob Marley said that.
Don't worry about a thing.
So does it, don't pray for God to give you an easy life. Pray for Him to give you the strength to make it a good one.
To make it a good one?
To make it a good, yeah. Or to
Dude.
make it for you and others or something like that. Yeah, it was a good quote, man.
I used to have a shitty plaque from like Walmart or some shit that said 3 little birds outside my doorstep. And that was one of my favorite.
Shitty plaque.
No, but that was one of my favorite things in the world because I would look at it every day and it made my day. Like every time I saw it, I think I hung my keys from it. But that's the idea is like, you know, I'm not saying like wake up, pick yourself up by the bootstraps and do it. I'm just saying when you get slapped in the face these days, it's one of those deals where you may not have anybody to pick you up. And the funny thing is that the more you can lean on an idea or, you know, this one little spine of strength that is, I don't want a good life. I want to be tested. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be tested. This is why I came here. So I might as well get strong as shit.
We chose this.
Yeah. Believe it or not, we fucking chose this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
this is the dynamic world. We're not in the static. This is where we get to experience and get to live and learn.
Yeah.
And you know, this is why I always tell everybody, like, this is incredibly exciting times right now. Incredibly exciting. But it's still, are they great? No. Are they bad? Nah, I don't know. I ain't dead yet, so I guess I got that going for me.
El terrible.
I mean, but that's about it. That's all you can look at. And for some reason, universe favor humans, and universe will provide whatever that may be. It will provide. God, universe, however you want to look at it.
Rice
it's an amazing thing.
Rice just texted peoplesrights.org. Is Ammon Bundy's site. Yeah, okay, he's a fart smeller. Yeah.
I'm out of a drink and I got to go put my littlest to bed. So
that's all right, Lisa. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you
so much. It's a pleasure talking to you. It's so good to talk to you.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so
much.
Great
hanging out. Great finally talking with you, Lisa, and having you on.
Yes. All right. Take care, guys.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Oh, Sean, it was so good to talk to you, man. We got to talk again.
It was, man. It's always great. I love hanging out with you guys.
And like I said, even if it's not a live video thing, we'll just talk, hang out, and play some guitar or something, man.
Yeah, you got to teach me how to play guitar. I could play more than Smoke on the Water. Really, just that one part, you know.
Oh, he'll teach you.
I'll teach you how to play "Sweet Child of Mine," the intro. That'll be fun.
Oh yeah,
And
sure.
Nothing Else matters from
You know-
Metallica.
Oh God, that's you don't even have to push your
I'm just
finger
kidding.
down.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, you actually do. There's one thing.
See, you guys are joking, but I would love to have like those 4 songs in my repertoire. Hey, baby, want me to play guitar?
Dude,
I got
shoot
4
me a
songs.
message on Facebook or text
Watch
me. or
this,
something, man.
son.
And if you got some time, dude, I like sometimes during the last few weeks this month I have a few things to do, but like a lot of times like I'll have days that are open just because they're open, and that's just how my job is.
Cool. I will.
You want to get together and jam out? Let's do it, man. That was really cool to talk to Litecoin Lisa, man. She's a righteous chick.
Yeah, she is really cool. Went to my doctor for a checkup. He told me you need to stop watching Social Sean. Horrified, I asked why. He replied, because I'm trying to assess you.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Well,
I'm trying. Asses you
assess you.
Ass.
like that?
That's why he replied, because I'm trying to assess you.
Am I supposed to?
He's from down under. So yeah, we have to stand on our heads to get it. I'm trying to assess.
Hold on.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Fucking typo. Okay.
Shit. Hey, Sean, man, you gotta hang in there, man, and definitely, dude, just reach out to me whenever, man. I got some time, and it's always fun to just have an excuse to play some guitar and hang out with good buds.
Dude, I'm not joking. When are we gonna do this song?
Oh shit.
Du Hast, dude. That would be epic. I'm serious.
What are we gonna do it to? You gotta refresh. Give me a fresh course.
Du Hast Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, you hate Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Dude, I will get my electronic kit out of the closet and just record that piece of crap.
Du hast mich gefragt, ich hab Bitcoin.
Oh, dude, I will do that with pyrotechnics strapped to my back.
Your balls, dude. Your balls.
Definitely. I need those. I need those.
It was Hollow Crypto's idea, dude. He's always like, Du hast Bitcoin. I was like, dude, that has to be the song.
I'll do it. Hollow Crypto. Yeah. Hold on. Here comes the original joke.
Du hast
mich.
Du hast mich gefragt. Du hast mich gesagt. Du hast mich gefragt. Ich hab nichts gesagt.
You know what's funny is that band is the original, like the epitome of free speech in their country.
Yeah.
They were so jacked. Yeah. I went to my doctor for a checkup and he said I needed to stop masturbating. Horrified, I asked why. He said because I'm trying to
assess you.
I still got to stand on my head for that.
No. I just like he's masturbating in the checkup room.
So I can do my job.
See, you know, I have to say our public education system here in America sucks because
dude, they've been calling it an indoctrination in the media. They've been calling public schools indoctrinations.
Get the fuck out of here.
I swear, like I've heard it like 10 times. I'm like, are you serious?
Get the fuck out of here.
I've heard like
here we go. Renaming.
It's really more of an indoctrination than an education system.
Well, the news is really more than newspeak than anything else. So don't.
Dude, I gotta get rocking, man.
I gotta smoke a cigarette.
I gotta go cook.
Really?
It's late. Yeah, late family night because we're not doing it.
What time is it down there in Texas? 8?
Yeah.
No, it's 7 here. What's it? 9 o'clock out there, Sally?
Yeah, you're 9-10 there.
Yeah, I have to wake up after pounding a bunch of bourbon.
We'll see y'all later. Take care.